Hi everybody, this is Karak from Angry Centaur Gaming, and today I'm cranked up, coked out, and ready to bring the house down with a review for the relationship simulator known as Dragon Ball Z XenoVerse. A game world where friends are simply the guy on your side during a single round, and enemies are guys that were on your side but now aren't. The Dragon Ball Z games have always been a little funny in their development, and this series has switched developers so many times it makes me feel like it's a real version of game dev story, where you're just hiring out freelancers all the time. Which is pretty much exactly what it is, and this last version is made by Dimps, which is only a slightly less funny name than ArtDink, which was the last dev. What is all this getting to? Well, it's getting to the fact that Dragon Ball games are known for their overarching look, but feeling fairly different from one title to the next. Now, there isn't always something wrong with that, but unlike some other fighting series that don't really have such a different feel between sequels, these have been relatively hit and miss with fans, backing a couple of the better ones and the lesser ones being considered fodder for internet memes like the Connect version, for example. But you know what? Let's check it out and see what we get. Dragon Ball Z XenoVerse tells the tale of an unknown, unnamed dude who happens to also be you, as you try to correct the universe's timeline by punching people so hard in their fucking faces their skulls turn into tachyons that fear for their atomic lives and rush back to fix the past and do your bidding. And just like the Miss Universe pageant, it also has giant space monkeys, which is always worth a look. Let's check it out. And up first is the healin' feelin' of fineness and the ocular sexcapade known as graphics. You know, I have to say, though at times the game looks great and has a fairly large spread across the hub world and various fighting arenas, it does seem like breadth has replaced depth, and overall the game just doesn't look as crisp as I feel some of the past games have looked. Now, this isn't comparing a 360 version to the Xbox One. This is 360 for 360, so the PS4 and Xbox One versions will of course look better. But after seeing them, I wasn't actually super impressed there either. It looks more good than great, and though it seems to be a fairly solid frame rate throughout, sadly there is some frame drops during heavy 3-on-3 combat. But let's be honest, reality itself would probably slow down if 6 fireball wheeling, spewing, flying dudes ended up battling in the fucking Grand Canyon anyway. And as much stuff is going on in the game, a couple frame drops won't kill anyone and doesn't harm the fighting experience at all. I would have loved for a bit of anti-aliasing to go around, as sometimes characters look a bit like their faces are made of Lincoln Logs and Legos, but you really can't win them all. Overall, I'd say the graphics are good, but not great, and at times the large scope of the game seemed to encroach into the graphics development for individual areas and characters. Still, good and faithful to the anime and past games. Moving on, sound, music, and voice. Sound is up first. Listen, this is an anime made into a game, so the sounds are accurate to the anime, and that can mean at times it can get a little crunchy, with sound effects all inhabiting a fairly narrow range of the sound spectrum. Imagine 3 fat dudes trying to sprint down a greased hallway, just bouncing off shit, slipping and sliding and making a mess. That's sort of how the game can sound at times. Some fans like that, and it adds to the chaos of the moment, and I can see that. It's something I noticed, but not something that outright made me feel burned. It could have been cleaned up, though, and made it a little bit easier on the ears after extended playing times. Special attacks and transformations are in your face and outweigh all the other sound effects of the game, which is pretty much how it should be if someone was summoning the very power of nuclear fission in their sweaty palm and throwing it at your groin. It's actually pretty good. Music. You know, this is just awesome and faithful to the anime perfectly. Seriously, this is a game where the music isn't there to create sweeping emotions. It has short tracks created purely for battle and for cutscenes about a game that involves overpowered magical beings sprinting through the air like cranked out Jedi. It's great stuff. You really can't complain about the soundtrack at all. It fits perfectly. Voice. You know, unlike the music, the voices are not spot on from the anime nor previous games, and though they're outrageous attempts at drama when one of them yells, "Oh, damn!" while being smashed into the fucking earth like they were trying to mate with its molten core, the voices do not seem to be of the same caliber, however, as previous titles. This is the kind of thing that is either going to grow on you or grate on you as your time goes on. Like puberty games, changing is inevitable, and we're going to have to suck it up. But I can't say I agreed with all of the changes. Gameplay. This is one of the few Dragon Ball games that has a custom character creator. So instead of mostly playing the typical characters from the anime, you create your own hero from the various races that the game has to offer. Pick a sex, which sounds totally hot, and then start fighting in full 3D aerial battles while occasionally running around a hub world and talking to characters from the show and previous games. The game has a good number of systems going on underneath the hood, and it's evident from the very start that the title is seriously deep and wide in its gameplay offerings. Dragon Ball has now officially gone balls deep. Mentorships offering special moves, online battles, co-op, quests that play out like cartoons, hundreds of unlockables, a good number of arenas, and a sprawling central hub all exist to funnel you into hilarious big band battles. Within a very short amount of time, you begin to understand that the game is going to take serious investment to even dig into, let alone complete. And just like the days of our lives, you play a martial arts strategist with a penchant for kicking ass and taking names while engaged in free flight, and you explore and complete the game by fixing the game's broken timeline in various ways. By fixing the timeline, I of course mean trying to break your foot off in someone else's ass and leaving them with athlete's foot in a very bad way. That of course means battle, and if the battle wasn't good, where would we be? It is good. It's also different. Just as I said before, these games always feel a bit unique from version to version, but I feel that XenoVerse might be the largest departure from the previous games. It just feels that way to me. At first, what appears to be a fairly cumbersome battle system actually turns out to be wickedly smart, and once you begin to understand how to string together combos and utilize the battlefield and your special skills to your advantage, the amount of fun to be had is incredibly high. The combat system allows you to move skills in and out as you discover new ones, and combos can be finished in a multitude of ways, leaving even closely matched custom characters still feeling different, just simply due to the way that the combat engine works natively. Admittedly, there are a couple issues, and the game's received patches already, and those that come stateside will probably see improvements. Frankly, the combat system just feels really good. There are a couple moves that need to get nerfed fairly bad, and a couple odd design decisions with regeneration and so forth, but nothing that most games don't have, and this game adds in multiplayer co-op online and a character generator and a freak ton of customization. I would say the gameplay is spot on. Fun factor. You know, I'm actually loath to say that the game grows on you, but in fact, it does. And that's the best way to describe it. As one of the few branches of fighting games I keep an interest in, this version of Dragon Ball seems to be the most fun, just overall enjoyment. It's not perfect, and there can be moments of frustration, but damn, getting people together and blasting them in their low polygon faces with your personal soul juice is pretty goddamn hilarious. Where many games become so technical that it seems like the developer's idea of fun is purposely flicking themselves in the testicles just lightly enough to give themselves a stomachache, this game embraces a more comical and free format, delivering large amounts of fun with a bit less initial investment. For that, my testicles thank them. Also, the game does giant angry space monkeys right, and let's be honest, that's a rarity these days. Giant space monkeys need to be in your game. Longevity. So far, I have 20 plus hours in the game and still have quests to accomplish and things to unlock, and of course, you're still left with a bevy of multiplayer components from co-op quests to 3-on-3 multiplayer smash-ups that basically go on for infinity. Now, the game does not have the best roster of all the Dragon Ball games, but it still has about as many playable characters as the Duggar Family Christmas game, now with more hugging chest on chest. And frankly, with the custom characters, I never felt like the roster was an issue. Now, your mileage on that may vary. Listen, I get it. Dragon Ball rosters are a thing of heated internet debate, up there at the level of Garfield versus Maguire and the best Spider-Man debate. But here, I think once you dive into your own created characters, you won't mind a couple of the typical old Legion not being present. Who knows? Maybe you will. I did not. So what does Dragon Ball XenoVerse do right? You know, honestly, the custom character creator is actually really good. It's not super in-depth, but there's enough there to make you feel like you're creating a unique character within that world, and they hit the anime stylings perfect. It's got a boatload of things to do. The game is really wide and also deep in its options, which at first can seem just a little bit overwhelming for some gamers. Music and voice, both I think fit, though the voice has a couple issues here and there, I still rate that as a positive. What does Dragon Ball do wrong? You know, the hub world is a bit huge for my taste, and like many MMO areas, it can feel sparse as well at times. Lastly, I have to say the graphics, though good, were not great, and they seem to be just not as much of an improvement as I expected between titles. So as you know, I rate games on a buy, wait for a sale, rent, or never talk about it again rating scale. This is a buy. If you're a fan of fighting games or multiplayer games or just sheer party fun, this game really does have it all. If you're a fan of Dragon Ball games alone, I don't see how you could be disappointed unless you're very attached to specific characters in the roster or voice actors playing your favorite peeps. And if you don't like any of those things, you're probably watching this review because someone dared you to watch a shitty review, and for that, I'm sorry. If you liked the video, hit like. If you disliked it, hit dislike, and peace out.